I sometimes get asked, Hazel, how do you find all the anime and manga you cover? And while I'm flattered to be a bitch people think of as having the hookup on the weird and forgotten, I'll be the first to tell you it's nothing all that special. I keep my ear to the ground. I have lovely friends who know a lot about things I don't in order to fill in some of my blind spots, but a big part of it is just sort of knowing how to get search engines to deliver the goods. Sites like AniList have some really robust search features. Like, I can search for OVAs released between 1990 and 2002, sort by popularity, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and... dude, why do you look like that? Virtual Star 2000. I'm gonna have to look into that at some point. Ooh, now what's this? Arisa, good luck? Oh man, I bet this is gonna be a pain in the ass to find. Oh wait, no, it's just on YouTube. Oh man, this is some good crust. What is this, like 144p? No sub either, no surprises. Alright, let's go. There's a beauty to going into shit this obscure, completely blind. Before hitting play, I was like, alright, this is probably gonna be hentai or something, but by minute 6, I figured it must be some arcane bishoujo game adaptation like Two Heart, because it was so quiet and plodding. In a good way, I mean. It's got a very simple energy about it that makes it feel very peaceful. And then the magical girl transformation happens. Word. Even the transformation happens over like dentist waiting room music. It's so jarring. While it was pretty easy to follow narratively, a hapless girl is transformed into a magical girl by her older brother, hijinks ensue. The whole thing has this hazy quality to it, where it doesn't really draw attention to itself, per se. The music is all a bit more down-tempo than it ought to be, the sound mixing is pretty scrappy, stuff just kinda happens, it ends really abruptly. Watching it in dog shit resolution at like 3 a.m. in my pitch dark apartment really added to this mysterious air. Upon credits, a rush of questions washed over me. What even is this? How, when, and why did it get made? Who's behind it? What, if anything, is it based on? How is it distributed? Why is this upload in such low quality? Is it available in higher quality elsewhere? Of course, none of these questions were especially easy to answer, and nearly all of them carried with them their own unique rabbit holes that needed getting to the bottom of, culminating in the discovery of several actual pieces of lost anime and manga. So I did what I had to, because who else was gonna? It had never been scored, let alone reviewed on my anime list. Anime News Network didn't even have a page for it. The comments on the upload I watched were mostly incredulous at how the uploader even knew about this at all, and that an anime so obscure even existed. Nobody in the English-speaking world seemed to know a damn thing about it. After a whole lot of research, a handful of international purchases, the gradual loss of my grip on any remote sense of reason, and the aid of literally every computer I've ever owned, I can present to you my findings and much more on Arisa Good Luck, the nearly lost indie anime. It's worth noting that an anime with a bishoujo art style being so undocumented despite being from as late as 1999 is twofold a rarity. When you look at the landscape of lost anime, it's predominantly TV anime from eras like the 60s and 70s where preservation efforts were nearly non-existent and home media releases weren't yet a thing. So for an anime from the late 90s released exclusively to physical home media to be so elusive is already strange. Then factor in that most of the more obscure modern anime out there are children's shows or otherwise feel less like what we think of as being quintessentially anime style in their given day, and Arisa feels all the more like an anomaly. The only details English language resources have for this 28-minute OVA was that it was directed by Kageyama Shigenori, its original story concept came from illustrator and doujinshi mangaka Ramiya Rio, and that the titular lead Arisa was voiced by a young Horie Yui. They tend to list one of two release dates, 1999 or 2001, which seemed odd to me at first, but here's the scoop. Initially, Arisa Good Luck was produced for a VHS release at a Comiket in the back half of 1999. Comiket, for those not in the know, is a twice-annual otaku convention for the buying and selling of fan works in Japan. Later, it was released as a DVD on June 25th, 2001. That alone was a mess to confirm. As if I wasn't already thrown off by all the different dates being tossed around, one Japanese Amazon review said the DVD was released before the PS2, even though the PS2 released in all major territories in 2000. It doesn't stop at dates either. Database websites are confused about this thing no matter the language. One Japanese site labeled it R18, and there was a good second where I was like, that could be possible, and that the R18 stuff was trimmed from the release I saw. That's not the case though. This thing is clean as a whistle. It also doesn't help that Google is bad at filtering out those aggregate sites that just pull information from other sources, so I kept finding identical listings that occasionally had some broken syntax that made me think there was maybe some new information present. It's some Metal Gear Solid 2 shit. I even thought that the newsgroup Rec Arts Anime might have some info on it, because back in the day there were monthly threads cataloging every new Japanese home video release, but nah, nothing. Newsgroups were mostly dead by 99, so it makes sense. It took finding pictures of the DVD and VHS themselves to 100% confirm the dates and some of the staff alone. Which, okay, this thing was for sure released on these two mediums. Why is this rip in such poor quality? Like, I was watching this upload thinking it was released exclusively for some early form of online video streaming or something. A standard VHS kinda sorta contains 240 to 250 horizontal lines of visual information, and even if this is 240p, we're not getting those horizontal lines of visual information unobstructed. It's straight up going Game Boy Advance video mode. DVD's kind of a gamble resolution-wise, but again, it's not gonna come out of the box this artifacted and compressed unless something went horribly, horribly wrong, right? That upload dubiously claims what I was watching was a VHS rip done by, quote, anonymous Russian rippers. However, there's a similar yet marginally higher quality upload over on Nico Nico Doga. Don't worry, it still looks like ass. In 2012, someone uploaded a torrent of Arisa to Nya, but it's an FLV file, and it's barely over 60 megs, so it probably looked about the same as the Nico Nico upload if it wasn't just ripped straight from Nico Nico. Thankfully, there's a tier of obscurity where something is probably technically rare, but so not sought after that you can get it for cheap if you can find it at all. For reference, this OVA is still extremely obscure in its home country. That Nico Nico Doga upload had less than 4,000 views after nearly 15 years on the site. That means I might be able to find this thing on secondhand sites, because my goal from the start was to get this thing available in higher quality. So I start scouring eBay, Surugaya, Mandarake, Yahoo Auctions Japan, Rakuten, Amazon Japan, Book Off Japan, and in a good handful of these sites I find old listings for the DVD from all the way back when it was new, but unsurprisingly they're all marked as out of stock. I'd seen the occasional expired listing archived on Google Images, but for now that was the closest I could get to the DVD. However, on Mercari Japan, I see a listing for something I hadn't even seen photos of up to that point. The fucking VHS, listed 17 days before I found it, and for dirt cheap. I have never placed an order so fast in my entire life. In fact, I placed that order so fast I did not stop to consider what promotional could actually mean in this context. What if it isn't the full OVA? I figured, well, the listing could be describing it as some sort of advanced copy. Technically, you could call it a promo for the DVD, or even for Ramiya Rio's body of work. Maybe promotional in this context more accurately means limited release. I don't know. I'm not an expert on how exclusive VHS releases for the Comiket market are usually packaged, but the fact that it was just a shrink-wrapped, otherwise naked VHS just kind of made sense. Why splurge on a fancy case when it's just an indie production, right? Well, either way, the reality was I was stuck waiting until it shipped to my proxy's facility and then was shipped from there all the way overseas to little old me. The next day, I did another round of searches, trying to be a bit more thorough, and oh, there's the DVD on Yahoo Auctions. I fuck you not, this was listed so shortly before I found it that because of the time zone gap, it was listed tomorrow, like the day after I bought it from where I was standing. I later realized it was an automated relisting for something that had been up for years, but shit, it was the real deal. That was a big relief. Not only could I get a DVD rip in much higher quality than a VHS, it didn't matter if the VHS was the full thing or not. This left me with about a week and a half before both arrived and I could get to digitizing and archiving them, so I used that time to fill in as many of the holes in my knowledge as I could. In the 90s, there was a wave of popularity for telephone cards. They're basically prepaid cards that could exclusively be used for public phone calls. The big draw is that these would have art of all sorts of different characters and properties on them, so it became big among collectors. Arisa had 3 of them released, limited to just 500 units. And here they are. I know, I thought the same thing. Why on earth would you want something this explicit in your wallet? What's interesting, and what threw me for a loop, was the fact that the cutoff date to order these was in September, which is before the anime actually came out, which means these were promotional? More on that later, though. In addition, a bunch of the sete is available online. Concept art, character sheets, props, locales, etc. If you ever want a glimpse at how much thought and consideration goes even to the most modest anime production, definitely take a look at some sete sometime. That being said, I couldn't figure out where these would have been released. You can find sets for sale online, but if these are secondhand photocopies directly from the production or were made specifically for sale, I'm not sure. One other thing that was still eluding me by this point was the specifics of Ramiya Rio's involvement on this OVA. I saw as many sources cite that this was an original story of hers made exclusively for the anime as I saw claims it was based on a doujin work of hers. That is to say, like hardly any of either, but enough to throw me off. The exact wording in the credits doesn't really clear too much up either, since gensaku can either be a credit to the creator of a source material, or the person who came up with the story concept for the work in question. Oh boy. Thankfully, Ramiya Rio is a pretty beloved figure in the doujinshi world, meaning a lot of her work has been cataloged and even archived in full online. So thanks to that, I can confirm that she does not have any doujin that Arisa Good Luck was based on. So it was a fully original story of hers, made from the ground up to be an OVA. However, I want to shine a quick spotlight on the lady. Ramiya Rio is quick to be described as the wife of fellow doujinshi artist Utatane Hiroyuki, and while I think it's extremely cute that these two are a little professional pervert couple, Ramiya's body of work absolutely stands on its own as well. She got her start all the way back in April of 1986. Happy 36th anniversary, Queen! Though her body of work largely lies in the world of black and white 18+ doujinshi, her website says that she's been given the title the Goddess of Color Illustration. And fucking yeah! This is 100% where she shines most in my opinion. As far as 90s bishoujo art is concerned, she's the cream of the crop. Her colors are soft but deliberate, the gradients are astonishingly clean and even. A lot of her work looks almost airbrushed, even though I know it's not. I love how she situates collage elements into the compositions of her illustrations. It adds a lot of texture without distracting from the main focus. Okay, I'm just gonna run through some of my favorite pieces from her art book Lunarium. This piece is breathtaking. The colors are so much more restrained than her work normally is, and in doing so, perfectly captures the almost otherworldly glow of a cold, foggy morning. I also just adore this one. There's nothing better than art of anime girls lounging around the house. What are those in the background, in those jars? Like bay leaves, dried chilies, and jumbo shells? I don't know about you, but I trust her to whip up some Iron Chef shit with just those 3 ingredients. Bark at the moon. I want to go to Jenny's coffee shop. I love how her art looks on this rougher, darker paper. Watching texture come through in the lighter, less saturated parts of the image is really appealing. I can't neglect her eye for fashion, too. She knows just the right balance of colors, shapes, and accents to really pull an outfit together into something cohesive and iconic, even if it's just for a single piece. My wife and I were geeking the fuck out over this art book. It's mostly safe for work, so there's a link among all the other sources I used for this video down in the description. Also in the description is a list of the songs that I use in the background, but it's beside the point. As for her doujinshi work, yep, it's doujinshi. I don't really have anything to say about what I browsed. It is what it is, which works out because it's not like I could have shown much either way. Handy dandy. There's like a lot of lesbian stuff in there, which I never really got why that wasn't more common in ero manga from the early Bishoujo days. Like, the girls are the whole appeal. That's why we're all there. Cut out the middleman. I'm partially joking, of course, but it's funny to compare to, say, the later moe boom, where there are tons of anime and manga that don't feature hardly any men at all because nobody could really figure out how to fit boys into the moe art style without really femming them up. The closest thing I can think to this is the Ixer 1 OVA swapping a character's gender, which people speculate is because drawing men was a weak point among the staff. Anyway, Ramiya's kinda done it all. In addition to manga and anime, she's also contributed art to 2 different games. She did some character designs for Guardian Recall, which was released on both the PC-98 and PS1, alongside another artist from her doujin circle. This thing is pretty fucking ambitious. There are a ton of cutscenes, and in the PS1 version, they go the whole 9 yards and have anime FMVs, which, man, this looks about the same as the quality I watched Arisa in. Jeez. I couldn't get very far in either version of the game, unfortunately. The menus are really layered and dense, and it's all kanji, so no go. Thankfully, the visual novel database has a thorough character breakdown for the PC-98 release. Same sister. Shouts out to the single unhinged English language review of the PS1 version on GameFAQs from all the way back in 1999.
Busty babes try to save the world. Almost 20 big, busted, pretty faces get together for a just cause. From different provinces/islands of Japan. What do you get? A game titled Guardian Recall. The game is a Final Fantasy Tactics/Cardia style RPG with a twist. The game is okay. Providing you enjoy seeing boobsy females fighting their way to victory. Along the way, catching a few laughs or so. Rating 9 out of 10.
The second and more important title in Ramiya's gamography is 1994's Half Moon ni Kawaru Made, which is based on a compilation of one-shots by the artist from a year prior. In a way, it acts as a greatest hits for her body of work in that regard, complete with, as is always the case for PC-98 games, god-tier pixel art. The game was developed by Cocktail Soft, who most famously made the Welcome to Pia Carrot series. On that note, it's also a greatest hits for the PC-98 eroge. This was before the visual novel format became the reigning king for Bishoujo game presentation, and things were a bit less codified. See, the game is broken up into 4 smaller games, designated by their female lead. You got Suzuka, Eve, Bunny, and... what? Titus?
What the fuck is that?
Eve's Route is the era's standard point-and-click affair. Tidus's almost plays out like a digital comic after a single branching dialogue menu, but the other two are the most interesting and were my favorites. Bunny is centered around this cute little whack-a-mole minigame, and there's inexplicably a progression system that makes it surprisingly compelling. Meanwhile, Suzuka's is this whole-ass mini RPG, which was a lot of fun. It's bare bones and clearly set up so you'll just barely eke out a victory on your first try, and like Bunny's Route, it made for something I gladly took the time to work my way through in one sitting, which was pretty easy, even barring the language barrier. Don't get me wrong though, for as cute as I find this, it's still very much so a PC-98 eroge. A bunch of skeletons. It's not beginner shit. Suzuka's Route is interesting because the source material would also go on to spawn an R18 OVA from 1996, Karakuri Ninja Girls. I always think it's cute when doujin artists are diligent about linking all their works together in some small way. I, of course, watched this OVA. The American box art boasts an English dub featuring 2 adult actresses, and,
Gee, what's going on? Why does she want to bring me back now? Good. At least the eggs are safe after all that.
Welcome home, Fawn Belle.
It sure sounds like it. Honestly, Trisha Upton's performance as Suzuka is really cute.
Fawn Belle, get ready!
Whoa! No, I said no! Cut it out! Stop it! Ah!
But for some reason, the dub changed Suzuka's name to Fawn Belle, a loose interpretation of the kanji that makes up her name, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was just to spare the actresses from having to pronounce Suzuka. Like Ramiya's doujinshi, it's not like there's much to say. It's hentai, although like Ramiya's doujinshi, it's just that bit more charming than it has any right to be. Like, this isn't my first rodeo. A lot of hentai anime can be weirdly miserable and bleak, but this was kind of sweet in its own way.
And all I wanted was to just spend time enjoying the cherry blossoms with you. Petals lightly colored, flirting against the night sky. It's so romantic.
Also, the music was done by a group called Bang Heads. All of this is to say, Ramiya Rio fucking owns. I've come to really love her stuff, and I'd never have even heard of her had it not been for Arisa Good Luck. Although her name isn't really even top billing as far as the OVA's collective memory is concerned. It was directed by Kageyama Shigenori, who's well renowned for being the main animator on the cult film Birth, as well as doing key animation for Windaria. I wouldn't put much stock in this, but I found it interesting that Shigenori did some work on the Pia Carrot 2 OVAs, sometimes under a pseudonym. Yeah, the ones that were adapted from the Cocktail Soft games. It makes me wonder if that tangential connection, Cocktail Soft developing Half Moon with Ramiya, Kageyama adapting a Cocktail Soft game, is how the two got acquainted in the first place. But the biggest name attached to this anime is Horie Yui. I think it's safe to say there was a while where she was one of the most famous and beloved seiyuu alive, at least among otaku. This has made all of her performances before her work on Love Hina considered her breakout role uniquely coveted among her fans. Despite every mention of Arisa Good Luck, without fail also mentioning Horie, her filmography is so massive that Arisa even falls wayside among her other early works. Like, Horie Yui is so popular that just being the tiniest of footnotes in her career is enough to keep a piece of media from being doomed to obscurity. That's bananas. I need to make it clear that Arisa Good Luck being released exclusively for Comiket initially is pretty weird in and of itself. I'm pretty sure. This is a difficult subject to research, and comprehensive resources on the subject of original animation produced for the convention don't seem to exist. When you go looking, though, you'll see the Toho Dojin OVA from 2008, by far the most famous. You might find the 2011 Atlanger OVA or the 2012 OVA helmed by Raita of Katawa Shoujo fame. Word. I guess this shows my areas of knowledge a bit, or maybe my age or whatever, but Raita isn't exactly of Katawa Shoujo fame to most people. He's much better known for his work on Fate Grand Order, but He's the Katawa Shoujo guy to me. Okay, I do not know what the deal here is, but while doing research, I also found multiple announcements from 2010 that voice actress Yuzuki Ryoka was to be producing and starring in a completely independent OVA for Comiket 79, but I could not find any information on it from after its release. See, the hard thing about Comiket is that most of what's sold there is deliberately produced for that Comiket, and for that Comiket only. It's not that these goods are meant to be disposable, but that they're purpose-built for the moment. That fleeting, electrifying quality is part of the mutual allure. Which is what makes knowing if this supposed anime got released or was even made hard to feel out. Which, like, I spent way too much time hunting for this thing and I've got no idea. If you think that's off topic, you should be afraid of the tangents my research takes me that I don't talk about. What's interesting about these is that they occupy an interesting sweet spot, the late aughts and early 2010s, right before the rise of original net animations replaced the need and desire for these sorts of OVA releases. Which means Arisa is one of the only of its kind that I could find from the time it was released. I'm gonna guess this is because the OVA market was quite lucrative through the 90s and lost a lot of their appeal in the 2000s as Digipaint made anime cheaper and more efficient to produce, and as the rise of premium cable networks created a home for more transgressive content to be distributed more widely. Still, it's a pretty common thread that anime produced to be sold or even screened at events like Comiket have a bad habit of being endangered, so to speak, nearly lost. Like, look no further than the fucking Daikon 3 and 4 animations. Jesus Christ. It wasn't until 2021 that we got a proper 8mm transfer of the former, which is just mind-boggling to watch after years and years of watching it at the lowest resolution imaginable. Oh shit, they're here. Uh-oh, mid-video Patreon break moment. I just want to say thanks to everyone who's currently supporting my work. Being able to branch out and make videos that require a budget has been a lot of fun and has resulted in some of the work I'm proudest of, and it wouldn't be possible without the folks whose names are scrolling on screen. Which, to do some housekeeping, this is actually going to be the last one of these I do. This is a really incredible problem to have, that there are enough people supporting that I can't hardly fit everyone in these sections without it being a lengthy unbroken text scroll that kind of fucks with the pacing. I reached out to all my current patrons to see how they felt and got a lot of warm, thoughtful responses that largely confirmed what I currently felt about the way patron rewards are structured. Namely that the text scroll doesn't seem to be of utmost importance and that most folks seem to prefer being able to contribute to the post-video Q&As. It also confirmed to me that I really do value, above all else, keeping my Patreon to a single $1 tier that includes any and all bonuses, which means I won't bump up any rewards to a higher tier, chalk it up to a background in DIY music. For as long as it's viable to do so, I'm gonna continue doing whatever I can as accessible and as sponsor-free as possible. This isn't a standard I hold to anybody but myself, just what feels right to me. So I was touched to see how many responses seemed to innately understand that and feel the same. Alright, they're out of their boxes. Let's take a look at what we got here. Wow, wait, I don't think I noticed that this DVD case was pink. Like, it's that way in the listing, but every other picture of the DVD I can find, and that includes other listings, has a white case. So, I'll be straight up, I have no clue if this is original or not. Like, the DVD itself is, the insert as well, but specifically the plastic case. There's no damage to the insert, so I don't suspect the case had to be replaced because it broke, although it could have just been the part that holds the DVD in place. It's worth noting that from what I could observe, the inserts are identical on both my version and the ones with white cases. My most rational guess is that pink DVD cases weren't available from the manufacturer when they did a second run, or vice versa maybe. When my music label Pop Spirit produced cassette tapes for my friend Thor's album Positive Yellow, we had to use different plastic shells each time because the place we ordered the tapes from ran out between batches. There's no information about any other products distributed by Warner Media Vision on here. This leaflet on the inside of the package is standard info on how to handle a DVD. You know, don't scratch it, don't put it in the microwave, don't use it as a coaster, don't let your dog play with it. As for the VHS, wow, yeah, it's still shrink wrapped. The first thing I noticed is that it's really light, almost like there's not very much tape in it. Let's compare this to my bootleg copy of Dragon's Heaven from the storefront Comiket 85. Obviously there's no affiliation here, I'm just stoked that this exists at all. Link in the sources. This thing is noticeably heavier, and, well, you can see the amount of tape in there. Looks about right for a 30-minute OVA. Obviously, this Arisa tape doesn't have any clear plastic, but because it's such a light color, shining a flashlight through it should show me how much tape there is in here. Man, yeah, that's hardly anything. This is definitely promotional, but that rules, actually. Like, if I'd been unable to find the DVD, I'd be disappointed, but that means this trailer was previously totally lost. The one thing that bums me out is that because I still don't have the VHS version in full, I can't confirm if there are any introductory advertisements that were cut off from the uploads online. I wonder why the actual VHS is so elusive. I looked through sold listings on Mercari, I used reverse image search, I scanned through Twitter tags, and wait, what the fuck? What the fuck, there it is. In the reply to another tweet about the promo VHS. I wasn't even gonna make anything of the original tweet and move on because they specified the image wasn't taken by them. So, okay, cool. Confirmation the real deal was released in a clamshell case. Good stuff. Alright, it's time to rip these guys. After doing some tests with a spare VHS I had lying around, I got things where I needed them and ripped the promo tape using my capture device. I'll be the first to say this could almost certainly look better. I didn't use any fancy upscaling, and my VCR only has composite output, but it's better than what was already online, which was nothing. I didn't get the chance to watch it as it was being ripped, aside from staring with bated breath to make sure it actually ripped properly and that my VCR didn't devour the tape. And I didn't watch it in full on the tape afterward because I know tapes start degrading from pretty much their first play, so I rewound it, put it somewhere safe. Now, onto the DVD. This one was a bitch. Which is funny, right? The newer tech was more of a pain for me than the ancient, deteriorating analog hardware. I'll admit some of this is down to me being a fucking idiot. Like, for all the depth I was able to put into researching in a language I don't even speak, for as readily as I was able to put a clip of this anime on a fucking Game Boy Advance cartridge for a blink and you'll miss it gag, I earnestly forgot DVD region locking was a thing when I went to capture footage of the intros and menu using my PS3. This was the first place I went because, of course, nothing I own has a fucking disk drive anymore. MacBooks haven't had them in like a decade at this point, and when I built my computer, I went, when am I ever gonna need a CD drive? I'll save some money by passing on it. Yeah, well, I bought one for this video, but it didn't arrive on time, so I had to dust off the last computer I owned with a drive, the Windows laptop I had in high school. But then I couldn't get whatever ancient version of Handbrake I had on there to rip a copy-protected DVD, so then I busted out my previous MacBook and a proprietary external DVD drive I literally didn't even think worked, and bada bing bada boom, here it is. Literally a day after I finished writing and recording and cutting together the audio for this video's script, and well after I'd ripped and scanned everything, the channel that had Arisa uploaded to YouTube removed that upload and replaced it with a higher quality one. Fuck. I thought to myself. That kinda negates both the work I put into getting a hold of the DVD and part of the video's very premise. I literally have nightmares about this kind of shit. Zero exaggeration. And, the uploader insists that this is in the best possible image quality. Fucking hell. Well, let's take a look. Oh, this looks like ass. Cool. Alright, let's bring in my rip. It's a good bit better. Like, it's not mind-blowing or anything, but it's a good bit better. All I'm saying is, if you're gonna claim you've got the best possible image quality on your hands while maintaining the utmost confidence to outline a manifesto on how to be a real anime fan, I expect you to be able to back up your claims at least a little bit. No excuses. So, as for the contents of the DVD, I don't think there are any animation differences. There are some shots in the YouTube and Nico Nico uploads that seem particularly herky-jerky, and that's true too of this version. Makes sense, it'd be wild if they bothered to polish the animation at all for a release this minor. Even right from the DVD, it doesn't really look amazing. I'm pretty sure that for some fucking reason the frame blending was built into this thing. I told Handbrake to capture it at the native frame rate, and that was 30 rather than animation's usual 24. Also, for some reason, yeah, the anime is widescreen, and this is true of every version. So while its native resolution is 480p, the actual resolution is more like 360p. Still, I'm happy with the quality, knowing there's no way in hell we'll ever get any big dog 4K 35mm transfers of this thing. So I'm happy to say that both the promo and the anime in full are now on archive.org. Links in the description. Okay, now that all that technical work is done, it was time to actually sit down and watch this promo. Oh god, what the fuck? God damn it. Everything I thought I knew was bullshit. The entire timeline I've been working with is incorrect. I'm gonna have to throw this whole video out and start from scratch. What the fuck is this about a manga pack? So everybody online was wrong. At the end of the Arisa Good Luck promotional VHS, a bit of text and narration from Horie are played.
本編のビデオは10月末日にお送りしますので楽しみに待っててね。コミケの後でも購入申し込み受付中です。
This, I believe, roughly translates to, the main story will be sent at the end of October. We're preparing a high-quality work. Just a moment, please. Even after Comiket, there will still be applications for ordering. The manga pack is still available for ordering. It costs 9,000 yen and will include a telephone card with the same illustration as seen on the package. The deadline for application is the end of September 1999. Please refer to the attached leaflet for how to apply. Now, I need to show you something I've been withholding. In addition to the Arisa VHS and DVD, I also bought a CD-ROM that contained information on all the groups and artists participating at 1999's Winter Comiket. Comiket is held twice yearly, once in the fall and once in winter, so if the release date mentioned on the back of the VHS and in the promo tape are right, October, and if online discussion of the anime to be believed, the OVA in VHS format would have to have been sold at Comiket 57, which was held in late December. After installing a virtual machine for Japanese Windows XP and ripping an ISO, I took a look at this little piece of software. It's a blast. Super rudimentary, but seeing documentation of where the otaku scene at large was at in this particular moment is really elucidating. Of course, this isn't an archive of all of the works themselves in full, just lists of what was going to be there and where. Unsurprisingly, there's a ton of Two Heart Doujinshi, a good bit of which features Akari, but of course the vast majority is multi. There's maybe even more King of Fighters yaoi though. There's like so much King of Fighters yaoi. I love it. Also, here's this WWF doujinshi by the artist who made this sign at a wrestling event you might have seen online. I don't really know anything about wrestling, but like that's gotta be the same artist. Thankfully, there's a robust search feature too, so I was able to confirm once and for all my suspicion that this is the Comiket where Arisa was sold. So I search, and I search. Arisa, good luck. Arisa, good luck. Ramiya Rio, Hiragana, Katakana, Romaji, Kanji, the studios involved, Warner Vision Entertainment, Buzz, Edit 90. I even searched the name of Ramiya's doujin circle, Uroboros. Nothing. Arisa, good luck was not released at Comiket 57. Arisa, good luck was not released at any Comiket. Here's what I believe actually happened. At some point in 1999, prior to August, Arisa Good Luck was announced, probably in some hobbyist magazines and online, perhaps by Ramiya herself, maybe even at one of last year's Comikets. In this initial announcement, it was slated to release at that year's first Comiket, Comiket 56, running from August 13th to 15th. However, for one reason or another, in the run-up to C56, the staff working on the OVA realized it was just not going to be ready in time. Whether the animation itself wasn't yet complete, or because there was some kind of clerical snag, or maybe even because they didn't have the funds to finish the job. So they cut together a promotional trailer to distribute in its entirety alongside an apology that it wasn't finished as promised. And this was, like, extremely fucking down to the line. How do I know this? The manufacturing date listed on the promo VHS is August fucking 6th. Literally 1 week before that Comiket. They also produced applications to pre-order the VHS by mail with a maybe optional deluxe edition, including some telephone cards and a manga in order to sweeten the pot a bit. Arisa Good Luck's VHS would go on to release on October 30th, 1999 via mail, 2 months after Comiket and 2 months before Comiket 57, where it was not shown at all. Flash forward to June 25th, 2001, where it would be released to the general public via DVD, retailing for a whopping 4,800 yen. Let me make clear that part of this is educated inference, so for the sake of transparency and being thorough, let me give you a facts-only timeline of events. Arisa Good Luck had a promotional VHS available at Comiket 56 that contained a trailer for the full anime that also apologized for the full release's absence. At this event, you could pre-order the OVA or take home an application for mail order. It would release on VHS by mail on October 30th, 1999, and 2 years later it would see a retail release on DVD. The reason I suspect the anime was announced prior to the event but went unfinished is because of that apology. I've read a lot of Japanese ad copy at this point, and that particular phrasing is very specific and bizarre. There's not really any other way to interpret that than "we're sorry, we were supposed to have it done by now, it's still coming, don't worry." This clears up why there's more documentation of the promo VHS out there than the actually released VHS. Again, goods released at Comiket have a fleeting quality to them. You're there to spend money in the moment, so it's likely if these promo VHSs were what was for sale at C56, otaku were likely to buy them and not go on to subsequently pre-order the full thing. There are still, after all this, 2 things I'm not clear on. It drives me insane that for as much research as I've done, I've hit a dead end in these 2 regards. First, I don't know if the telephone cards were required to pre-order for this VHS, or if it was an optional upgrade. I lean toward the former personally, slightly, although 9,000 yen in 1999 money seems pretty steep an investment for a 28-minute OVA from an unproven studio starring a still relatively unknown voice actress. However, if we could confirm this fact, we would know that there were only 500 copies of the OVA produced on VHS, although that in and of itself wouldn't exactly confirm if the OVA in that format is more or less rare than its promo. More importantly though, what the fuck was that about the manga pack? If you've been hung up at all about my use of the word lost throughout this video, your heart may now rest easy because we have actual ass lost media on our hands. Dojinshi.org has nothing listed for Arisa Good Luck, nor anything that resembles an even tangential connection to the work from Ramiya Rio, or anybody else from her circle, Ouroboros. Given how ungodly thorough that site is, this means one of three things. 1. A pack-in manga was promised, but was never delivered. I find this extremely unlikely, given how much controversy that would have stirred if the anime had been both delayed and did not deliver something fans paid for. Flat out, it would have tarnished Ramiya Rio's reputation, and the anime would have lived on in infamy. It'd be unable to escape from that legacy. I've seen greater backlash from smaller transgressions in Japanese fan spaces. 2. The manga that was packaged in with Arisa was a previously released, unrelated Ramiya Rio doujinshi. This is entirely possible, especially if the manga pack advertised was decided at the last minute to help sell pre-orders. But if it was planned from the get-go, it could go either way, which leads me to 3. It is currently lost. No scans, no archives, no documentation, no photos, no listings anywhere. If this is the case, it's a bit of a Schrodinger's doujinshi. We won't really know, even if a VHS copy of Arisa gets listed tomorrow, because there's no mention one way or the other on the packaging. It was probably just shipped with the anime, so unless someone bothered to keep them together all this time, which would be weird, since I don't know about you, but I organized my VHS tapes separate of my books, it's likely they wouldn't be sold or even photographed together. Barring getting confirmation from someone who had a hand in its production, or an otaku with a vivid memory of Comiket 56 specifically, it's likely the only way we're going to know that it exists is by finding it. So I'm stumped, and I guess at this point, I have to leave it up to everyone watching who feels inspired to do so. Although, I expect the interest in hunting for this thing is going to be fairly minimal. The language barrier makes hunts for lost media and manga pretty unappealingly difficult. It's harder to get in touch with creators because so few are even online at all. Many wouldn't dare risk the repercussions built into distributing these works under a copyright system that's far stricter than what we have over here. And Japanese fans simply don't have the same approach to lost media as us. The ethics are just, across the board, more complicated. Which works out because literally right after the original version of this video came out, like barely 2 hours after, I got a tweet that cleared literally most of this up. Clarification time, yes, this is a reupload. The content of this video remains unchanged, so no bits and pieces of lost media anywhere in here. The original release of this video was such an unmitigated fucking nightmare that I just needed a do-over. First of all, I realized YouTube had, for some fucking reason, downscaled the upload of Arisa I had on my second channel from 480 to 360. I think this is because the actual resolution was a few pixels shy of 480, not 100% sure. It also just totally fucking wrecked the quality. Like, Jesus, look at this. It looks like the 360p upload I was just criticizing. Mind you, that version was definitely uploaded at 360p rather than just being munched afterward, but either way, the version I had uploaded was just not fucking acceptable under any metric. I re-rendered it at exactly 640 by 480p, but this is obviously still not a totally optimal rip. I was a little more haphazard in that regard than I ought to have been, so keep in mind that this version that's on YouTube and that appears throughout this video is not the end-all be-all for quality, although I'm sure plenty of you already know that. If you want that, head over to archive.org, because I didn't really make it clear in the video that my intention was to also get an ISO rip of the DVD as well as an MKV of the thing. I would have done it sooner and mentioned doing so in the video, but I was only able to install this DVD drive a few days ago. I thought I had a SATA cable somewhere, but nope, I had to wait for one to ship. So the ISO and MKV are both on archive now. Some of the shitty frame blending is still baked into the DVD itself. I definitely could have used better settings in Handbrake, but I watched a bit of the OVA from the DVD and you can absolutely still see this blending going on. I suspect, as a commenter pointed out, it's likely this DVD was made from an analog master tape. The sort of rainbowy sheen and interlacing are usually characteristic of this, if I understand correctly. In an older video, I attributed those qualities as being innate to Laserdisc, but that was just more me shooting the messenger, so to speak. So there's a double correction. I guess this is common for a lot of early DVDs. Rather than getting a clean digital transfer of the original reels, it's just pulled from a tape that's like pre-2000s TV broadcast acceptable, but not so much for resolutions achievable by DVD. So forgive me both for not being more upfront about my intentions to get a better version online and for not knowing more about this stuff. Learning about audio-video is kind of a nightmare, honestly. It seems like if you want any specific info on the subject, you kind of just have to dive headfirst into a bunch of complicated terminology that's all equally difficult to Google for and often not even directly relevant to what you're searching for. Understandable since it's so niche, but it's hard and sort of alienating for me. I'm doing my best, but I probably should have reached out to some people who knew better than me. I just didn't want to be a bother. Story of my life. That was really only problem number one, though. Like I said, 2 hours after my video went live, someone found an archive of the website of a little-known company called Manga Pack. Yeah, I should have known. In my defense, searching Manga Pack in Japanese just nets you, well, packs of manga. And furthermore, Manga Pack's name is nowhere on the DVD nor the promo VHS, and it's not visible anywhere on this single photo of this pamphlet I was able to find. Although the phone and fax numbers are the same, I really doubt those are still in use, though. Midnight Hazel here. I'm currently looking at the credits on the promo VHS, and Manga Pack's name is listed in the credits scroll. In fact, it is the last name that comes up. The kanji there is too mangled for me to get anything out of, but it probably just says distribution because Manga Pack was the distributor for this VHS specifically. So I probably should have paid closer attention to that. It would have saved me a lot of work. Now, the person who found this searched Arisa Good Luck homepage in Japanese, followed a few links, and took a trip to archive.org. That is so smart. I never would have considered that. Well, now I know. Small bit of info, but it's interesting to me that the description given for the OVA here is different than the one on the DVD case, which is copied all over online listings. There is also a poster available for sale for 3,000 yen. There's a little signature from Ramiya Rio there, although it's not clear if each one has been hand-signed or if it was just printed on. I assume the latter because they don't make any mention of the signature anywhere. Looks like I was right in my assumption that 9,000 yen seemed excessive for a VHS from 1999, because the 8,000 yen this VHS costs includes shipping. I definitely should have known that there was a possibility some spots would spell Arisa as Alisa, although it wouldn't have helped much since it was relegated to a website that's totally offline either way. I need to make it clear here that this isn't a website where you could order the OVA. It just contained instructions on how to mail order it. Thanks to a slightly older archive of the site than this one from November of '99, I can confirm that Arisa was being advertised at MangaPack's own booth in August Comiket. Quick aside, yes, August Comiket is considered summer Comiket. I feel extremely ungodly stupid for getting something so fucking basic confused, especially because I was born in September and should know that it is still hot even by September. I don't know, chalk it up to me being dyslexic and confusing autumn with August my entire life because so many of the letters are the same. I am sorry. Good news though, my timeline was right, in that they expressly stated the release was delayed on MangaPack's website. Fuck yeah. What can I say? Woman's intuition. It was absolutely supposed to be sold at Summer Comiket 56. But of course it couldn't just be this fucking simple. On their website, they say that if you pre-order the OVA, you'll get a bonus telephone card. Right, sick, we've been there. It also fucking says you get a promotional tape ahead of the full OVA's release. What the fuck? If that's what I have, why does the tape inform you that you can still order the full tape after Comiket? You would have to have pre-ordered the OVA already, right? I have no fucking idea. Maybe there's a second tape. Maybe they put that information at the end for posterity's sake. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I'm at a complete loss here. I was fucking begging for this to clear everything up, but one sentence managed to complicate things further. I'm going to posit my two theories on what all this means. It's possible that the contents of this video were produced to be displayed at CRTs at the event, but because they already had those contents, they decided to also package that up in smaller VHS tapes to send out as a further apologetic for the delay. It's also possible that, given that the website describes this bullet as for people who are still looking to order, that the tape would be sent to folks who missed it. Maybe those ordering at Comiket got the tape right away or could purchase it there separately, but for those who weren't at the event, they could still get the promo tape ahead of the full OVA's October release. I'm going to run with the assumption that there was only one tape, Occam's Razor, and it hurts my heart less. I'm so exhausted, man. I literally had a fucking post-breakup shaved head moment over this video. I fucking dyed my hair the night I pulled the video for reupload, which was, yesterday, after spending all of the rest of the day doing another fucking round of research and writing. Let's just get back to the rest of the video. Which begs the question, why the fuck did I bother with this? Because I'm not some Horie Yui superfan. I'd never even heard of Ramiya Rio before discovering this OVA. And furthermore, let's face it, this thing is mid. I could have made a YouTube video about literally anything else. But I think William Gibson, of all people, said it best.
The otaku seem to me to be it's kind of very pure expression of hunger for information, even if the information is essentially meaningless.
That's really only part of the answer, though, really. It just doesn't sit right with me to let things be forgotten just because they aren't colossal victories or colossal failures, you know? It doesn't sit right with me to let the hard work of a whole team of people run the risk of slipping entirely into unavailability. Because at any point, the channel that had Arisa uploaded could get taken down for copyright infringement for any other upload of theirs any day, and likewise goes for the Nico upload. I feel like this thing deserves the dignity of a higher quality transfer, because the loss of fidelity is still loss, as I've said. I'm not on some David Lynch, no iPhone movie theater vuvuzela shit.
Fucking telephone. Get real.
I love watching things in dog shit quality, and like I said, the dog shit quality I watched Arisa in added to the allure for me. In part, I think of it sort of like the texture archaeology boom that happened in the wake of the Nintendo Giga Leak, if you're familiar. It's about context. Moreover, though, the degradation of visual clarity is tantamount to the erasure of the hard work, the blood, sweat, tears, and often put into even the most easily forgotten anime out there. Deliberate brushstrokes and line work get reduced to something gestural, merely implying a greater image rather than getting to be the sum of its parts. Animation is an industry where to work is to bleed yourself dry for your creations, even if just to get from paycheck to paycheck. And that's enough for a work to deserve to be captured in totality in my eyes. As far as I could tell, Buzz's only production was Arisa. Everything else they did was grunt work, mostly in betweening coloring and cleanup for Digipaint TV anime from 03 to 06. This, to me, signals that Arisa was their one shot at getting to helm projects with any sort of regularity, and it just, sadly, didn't pan out. Comiket 57 was one of the first Comikets to happen after the release of the hugely important Kanon. While the number of Kanon doujinshi at C57 wasn't enormous, check out this official commemorative lighter. Winter of '99 was right on the precipice of a truly indomitable run of absurdly popular and culture-defining independently produced visual novels breaking through from within the doujin scene. Going into the 2000s, these were the tastemakers, more so than anime and manga even, in some ways. Doujinshi based on these properties would go on to be utterly inescapable at future Comikets, even to today. And as far as production was concerned, they could certainly be made easier, cheaper, and with fewer people than an anime. That's not to say I believe this paradigm shift is what killed Arisa. It was going to be obscure no matter what, especially with its production issues, and as I've stated, it was kind of an outlier just by virtue of being made for the Comiket crowd to begin with. Rather, it cements Ramiya Rio and those from her generation as a sort of graduating class, making way for a whole new batch of creators working with new tools and with new inspirations. Maybe I'll have more to say on that class in the near future. In the meantime, you can find Arisa, its trailer, and that Comiket catalog over on archive.org, and I also decided to go ahead and upload both videos to my second channel as well, just for posterity's sake. So check the description for all that. Thanks for being here.